Alright, well, what's up friends? Time for another preview video for the Battle Brothers DLC. So, the release date announcement, 29th of November, we all know that. There isn't actually much we need to go over here. We've covered all this stuff before. Your music, that's great. Contracts, yeah, let's get to the good stuff. So, oh god, the Kraken. So cool. Right, Devblog 109, the Kraken. We round off our collection of new opponents for the upcoming Beasts and Exploration DLC with the introduction of our largest enemy yet. It's a giant beast, a creature that has lived throughout the ages and is at the very top of the food chain. Unleash the Kraken. So, as an attentive connoisseur of last week's release date announcement, something might have caught your attention. There's 3 fearsome boss type enemies coming. Each one is guarding a different legendary location. And as it so happens, one of them is the Kraken. We're not going to spoil the other 2 in Devblogs, but we're taking a closer look at the tentacled horror today as an example of what to expect. This is going to suck. This is going to be a lot of fighting in swamps, which I hate. The Kraken is a remnant of a different era. Its age numbers in millennia, and it has spent much of its life slumbering beneath the surface of the swamp it inhabits. The tentacled horror is myth and a legend that few have seen with their own eyes, and people have been born and grown old living atop a slumbering Kraken, for it awakens only every few years to feast. The Kraken has countless tentacles that stretch on forever below the surface, and each tentacle has a dim light to lure prey. Those lights are the origin of many a tale. In the thick fog of the swamp, earlichts, or ghost lights, promise company and a warming fire, only to leave men to their doom. Worse still, the tentacles will wrap around their prey, crush them, and drag them through the muddy water into the gaping maw of the Kraken, where they will meet a gruesome end. The Kraken is firmly situated in late-game territory. It's an opponent to test your veteran party against, and quite possibly the end of many an Iron Man run. God. Most of the Kraken is below the surface when fighting it, and you can only guess as to its actual size. Individual tentacles reach all over the map, and they will disappear into the mud and water of the swamp, only to appear again at another place. As the Kraken feeds, a many-toothed maw will slowly rise from below the waterline to gorge itself. From the perspective of this giant beast, your group of tiny mercenaries is but food. So it will start combat by moving its tentacles to wrap around your men and drag them towards its maw to feed. Being dragged through the swamp is a hellish ride, and your men better start attempting to free themselves along the way by hacking at the tentacle that holds them tight. Nearby brothers in arms can help as well. If you fail at freeing your men in time, and they end up next to the maw at the end of their turn, they are done for. The maw will shred them mercilessly in a single turn. That dude's boned. If you hurt a Kraken enough, either by destroying several of its tentacles or by injuring the head, it will get enraged and let you know with an ear-deafening roar. The Kraken understands now that this is no longer about feeding itself, but about defending itself. The tentacles show teeth and begin to snap at everything and everyone. They continue to wrap around your men and drag them towards the maw, but they do it so tight now that they slowly crush and suffocate their victim along the way, meaning that your men will lose hit points at every turn they end while entrapped like this. Should you manage to beat the Kraken, you'll not only get the treasure it guarded, but you'll be able to craft items from its remains, and you'll unlock it to appear as a regular, albeit rare enemy in swamps across the wild for your epically long campaign. Holy hell, loads of questions. The first thing I want to know about this Kraken is, when we're on the swamp terrain, will it and the tentacles be able to go onto solid ground? Like, this picture suggests that no, it won't. So that means if you set up tactically, it shouldn't be that bad. But I mean, I imagine the tentacles will probably be able to attack at least one tile, maybe even 2. Because like, look at this terrain here. Like, what I would do is put all my frontline lads there, then have pikemen and archers and crossbowmen. I imagine archers aren't going to do shit to this thing. I imagine the body of it will almost certainly take almost no damage from arrows. Maybe crossbow bolts will be able to hurt it, or throwing weapons. The tentacles look unarmored, so they should be susceptible to bows and arrows. I do like the fact that each individual person who is tentacled can fight back himself. That's pretty important. So this thing is obviously going to be incredibly hard to kill. Super interesting. Okay, DLC Supporter Edition. Thanks to the overwhelmingly positive response to last week's release date announcement, and many people expressing their desire to support us even beyond the asking price of the Beasts of Exploration DLC, we've decided to also offer it as a special Supporter Edition. This Supporter Edition will be priced at $19.99 and include a new player banner and shields with a Kraken motif as a thank you from all of us to you. I will 100% be getting this edition. I want this Kraken banner that looks so cool, and the Kraken shields. So we've spoken about, you know, which warband will make a showing, and I thought war pigs, but I'm actually leaning away from the war pigs because there's so much we have to learn about the new DLC that this first campaign or two are pretty much going to be doomed, and I think we should do a Kraken run. You should think of some names that fit in with the Kraken, you know, like the Salt Brothers or like the Drowned Men. Tentacle Boys. Something weird. But that's cool. Oh, it's so close. Time is close to the release date. So as of the time of recording, what date is it today? Let's see. Today is Friday the 16th. So that means the game is out. 2 weeks away. I even took leave from work for those 3 days, so I can just play nothing but the DLC. Alright. Dev blog number 110. More things. The Beasts of Exploration DLC is set to release on the 29th, with a bunch of cool features that you can learn about here. That's great, but there's actually even more coming than covered by this feature list. Let's take a look at some smaller things that come with the DLC and which we haven't talked about yet. The Beasts Lair. There's a new character background in town, the Beasts Lair. Experienced in both melee and ranged combat against beastly opponents and monstrous adversaries, the Beasts Lair is a versatile background similar to the Sellsword, but more affordable. Of course, he will come with his own events and interactions with other backgrounds and some expert knowledge on beasts and their lore to share with you. That little note there about similar to Sellswords but affordable is going to be important when it comes to wage changes. So there's several changes incoming on how wages for characters work, so let's break them down. First off, the base wage for a couple of backgrounds has been adjusted to be more in line with their actual worth as defined by how often they're picked by players. In addition, every individual character now has a certain idea on how much they want to get paid. There's a small random factor on the daily wage demands of all characters, and so you'll find cheaper and more expensive recruits also within the same background, if they don't have the greedy trait. Good to know. Finally, the wage progression has changed. While previously you paid 2 additional crowns per character level, you'll now pay a cumulative 10% of a character's base wage for every level after the 1st and until the 11th, and then 5% of a character's base wage for every level afterwards. In effect, there's less wage pressure in the beginning, gives you more leeway to actually explore the world earlier and find all those new beasts and locations. Low tier backgrounds have also become cheaper to employ in the long term, but high tier backgrounds have become significantly more expensive to keep around if they reach veteran levels, which gives you more of a reason to diversify your company composition in long campaigns. This is a huge change, and I like it because we do tend to struggle the most in the early game, and anything that helps us squeeze out a few extra ducats in the early game is going to be good. New named weapons. As you've previously learned, the DLC will introduce a bunch of new weapons. People have been asking about whether there'll be named variants of those weapons as well, and the answer is yes, of course. Take a look. Oh baby, look at that mace. And these flails. Oh, I do love me a flail. New armor. Not just new weapons, it's also stylish new armor, all of which can be further customized with the new armor attachment system. We're filling some gaps in the armor progression, and we're also introducing some high-tier light armor as part of a larger effort to make light and medium armor more of a viable choice for some character builds. Hell yes! Because I mean, it did always seem like really you would only ever slap the heaviest armor you can on everybody, except for maybe a very dodgy archer. But this is great because it's, yeah, I mean, anything that gives you versatility and makes medium armors more viable, that's awesome. Okay, so join us again next week to learn about even more changes and additions to the upcoming DLC and the accompanying free update to Battle Brothers. Oh god, I can't wait. Let's read more. I think it's just the comments. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait. Okay, friends, thanks for watching. We're watching another little preview video. When we come back, we'll dive into the next 2 dev blogs, and then, yeah, man, close. We're getting very close. We're 2 weeks away from release. Can't wait. Thanks for watching, friends. See you next time.